There you go at WGR Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence here in my hometown of the Flower City. You found the Sports Bar. Please join us. You can call in at 866-4326. You can write in many different ways on social media. We're keeping track of our X account, our handle WGR Rochester. We are on YouTube, where you can leave a comment there, and Twitch. And for everybody watching on YouTube today, change the lighting here today. It is St. Patrick's Day, so the studio lit up in green, which I don't know if Tim Schneider, our fine producer, was a day ahead. I admonished you yesterday for wearing the Clarkson gear.
Yeah, I walked in and I saw the green and I was very confused. And then you came in and asked where my green was. And then it all kind of clicked that, like, I was a day ahead of the game. And now I just look like Scrooge of leprechauns.
There's some people. This is their Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
There are some people. There are establishments in Rochester that were open for an eye opener, like 7 a.m. They get whatever paperwork they need to get that done, and I thought you would have been one of those guys.
Yeah,
maybe, but apparently not.
I guess I blew it this year, and we'll try to be better next year.
Be better next year. So we are festive, and I'm wearing my green today. And even though I have the last name of Battaglia, my mother is Irish. So I grew up always with the corned beef and cabbage, and certainly the potato soup. That's always part of it. And, yes, a nice Guinness today hits well. Great show we have lined up here for you today. Again, our number 866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. Bottom of this hour, as we are in March Madness, and this is year number 5, we don't have anything to look forward to as far as a matchup with Syracuse. Boy, that would have been fun if the Orange made it and they were in Buffalo. Although I think that in years past they avoided putting the Orange in Buffalo, thinking that was too close. But regardless, looking forward to a day where we get Syracuse back in the tournament. We'll talk to a friend of the show. Mike McAllister covers the Orange for 24/7, Syracuse on 24/7. That'll be coming up at the bottom of the hour, as I would just state the obvious here. In terms of change at Syracuse University, between the chancellor, between the AD, and now you're getting a head basketball coach. Again, not named Jim Boeheim and not named Adrian Autry. This is a new world at Syracuse. Where are we headed? Can this actually what you need to win these days? Is there money in Syracuse? Can this turn around? Mike McAllister, a publisher of Syracuse on 24/7, will be joining us here at bottom of this hour. As he always does on a Tuesday, Michael Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, which, okay, everybody take a deep breath. That was the longest winless streak for the Amherst in a decade, 10. But yet, they're still hanging on to the last playoff berth. So still hockey to be played, 15-game stretch. And after this first half of the 15-game stretch, the last 6 of 7 are on the road. So you got to make hay here. Syracuse Friday, and Sunday, Hartford comes in for Bills Day. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone coming up at the bottom of the next hour. Again, our number 866-4326. Bills news today, nothing directly related to the Bills, but should something happen, Timmy's got his finger on the button for breaking news at any point. The story today in the NFL is that the Dolphins move off of Jalen Waddle. So we knew the Dolphins were entertaining offers for Jalen Waddle last year at the trade deadline, and they were asking for a first. Brandon Beane didn't want to do a first. Would you have done a first now in retrospect? Probably. Yeah, but the Dolphins wouldn't do it for Buffalo. But they do it for Denver today, and a little of it, and then some, right? So Waddle's going for pick 30 overall. Remember, that's where Denver ended up. And a third, and it's a pick swap in the 4th. So the Dolphins moving back in that round. I should say Denver moving back. Well, regardless, hard for me to imagine the Dolphins doing the Bills any favors here. I am not worried by the way, what this means for Denver. I don't think that's the storyline. You're going to hear the storyline in the talking head show like, wow, what does this mean for Denver? A team, this was the missing piece that could put them over the top. Maybe, but you're in an AFC West that not one team should sweep. Not the Broncos, not the Chargers. Sorry, Jay Binkley, not the Kansas City Chiefs. And no, the Raiders aren't ready yet, but the Raiders could easily win a game or two in division. So that division should beat each other up. I think that's great. Jalen Waddle, go out there, and when we get to the playoffs, we'll deal with that then. Because I don't think Denver's going to go away. But what this does is I think it just weakens Miami. Like, for obvious reasons. Like, why didn't Malik Willis agree to Miami other than the money, I guess? Opportunity to start. He gets Achane in the backfield and not a good offensive line. And your number one wide receiver right now is Tutu Atwell. Now, Miami does have 11 picks as a result of all this. They have 2 in the first, their own second. They now have 4 picks in the third. Wow. That's a total of 8 day 1, day 2 picks. And you also get fourth and 2 in the fifth. So there's a lot there. I'm not really, again, concerned with Miami this year, though. They are not a good team. When you look at this through the Buffalo lens, can we expect the Bills to win 5 or 6 in the division this year? I think that's probably what they're saying in New England, too. The Jets I would put ahead of Miami right now. I'm not being cheeky. I think that maybe with them having the continuity at head coach, maybe they can build that defense up just a little bit. I think that the Jets actually are in third, but the Bills should win 2 against the Jets, and they should win against Miami twice. When you look back at last year, yeah, you can bemoan that playoff loss for the Bills to Denver, but how did you get yourself in that position to begin with? You didn't win the division. You didn't win the division. This time last year, we're thinking the division, that's a layup. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, look at all these teams. They're terrible. And, look, we were saying that about New England last year, and they come in, and the kid quarterback takes the step forward. Well, maybe trying to, extend an olive branch to any Dolphin fan. Because I don't want to kick you while you're down here, but maybe there's an olive branch to extend. But there's no Stephon Diggs. There's no defensive players that are gonna squeak out some wins. This is a barren roster for Miami. It's probably a good thing. Start over. I would just question why. Even Malik Willis, we're never gonna find out if he's a good quarterback or not. What does he have to work with? Sure, they can bring in other receivers. They can draft some guys, I suppose. But the way that schedule is laid out, I'm going to be fascinated when it comes out in May. If the Bills have to finish up with the Jets and Dolphins, you're going to feel pretty confident about that, right? If you need those 2 wins. I highly doubt that. I would think that the Patriots would be one of those final 2 games, if not the last game, that the NFL does purposely do those things. So, big trade today in the NFL. And if you're looking at this, that the Bills should have gotten something done for Jalen Waddle, I'm not going to take that position on this one. If you're saying, boy, Denver's going to be the team to beat in the AFC, sure, this makes them better. There's no doubt about it. But as I'm pointing out, ultimately for the Bills, just take care of your own business. Win your division. If you win your division, of those 3 teams, Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs, 2 of the 3 won't be hosting. In fact, if the Bills end up winning more than a division that could potentially beat each other up, then you should actually be kind of in a better seed. So am I getting ahead of myself? Of course. That's what we do here in Sports Talk Radio. 866-4326 is our number here. WGR Rochester. My name is Gene Battaglia. If you found us, hey, welcome. We're in our new time slot here with everything changing here, and hopefully you are enjoying the new lineup. 1 to 3, tell a friend. Make sure you like and subscribe. Tuesday, for a Tuesday night, It's a pretty good night for sports television, is it not? World Baseball Classic, 8 p.m., and I had to take yesterday on this that this is good television. This is good for baseball. When you see that energy and that passion on the field, and you see the players caring about it, you see the fans up in the stands, it helps that it's in Miami, certainly, where fans of those teams can certainly get to know their players a little bit and be right there cheering for them. This will be a fun atmosphere tonight, U.S. and Venezuela. And whatever happens here, it's good for baseball. If the United States wins, obviously we'll be very happy. If Venezuela wins, well then baseball accomplishes one of their goals, which is, hey, let's make sure that we're growing the game globally here. As far as diversity in the World Baseball Classic, there's been only the U.S., Japan, and Puerto Rico. Those have been the only teams who have actually won this thing. So it'll be fun to see if the U.S. can actually get this done tonight, 8 o'clock. So you've got that at 8 o'clock. You've also got Sabres hockey tonight. Sabres in Vegas at 10 o'clock. Buffalo just 2-5 all-time in Nevada. Now, if you're a hockey sicko, or you're just somebody that doesn't like Timmy here, who doesn't understand what a sleep schedule should be.
What's that? Never even heard of it.
2 a.m. for you most nights?
3, 4.
Oh, dude, it's not healthy. I can't tell you how to live, but you'll be.
I get naps of 2 hours increments. Sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes at night.
Well, not with your new hours here, buddy. You can't.
No,
nap
it's
1
been
to
an
3.
adjustment. It's been an adjustment for sure. But we're getting there.
Yeah, welcome to the working world here, buddy. You'll be watching tonight. Me, maybe not so much. Tampa at Seattle, 10 o'clock on TNT. Sabres are up 4 on Tampa. Tampa with 2 games in hand. So, again, you've got that. You've got the Sabres. You've got World Baseball Classic. Oh, yeah. Yes. Thursday. It's going to be fun here in the sports bar because we will be reacting just like you to the action here as the tournament gets underway in Buffalo, by the way. And tonight we get, I think, a game that's worth your attention. Texas and NC State. 9:15-ish for that on True TV. Good luck finding True TV wherever that is. It's the one time we got to go find it. We talked to PJ Glasser tomorrow. He was taking Texas at 100-1 odds for the SEC tournament. Didn't happen, but Texas now has an opportunity. It's like one of those, all right, if Texas gets this done tonight, am I thinking Texas over BYU? Look, we're going to ask all of our questions to PJ Glasser tomorrow in the sports bar. 866-4326. Another thing, too, and here in Sports Bar 2.0, we always respect the past of 1.0 of the show because if you followed us from the previous time slot over here, I thank you. We will continue to talk Rochester sports. And look, part of the history of the show is that when I was in college, I was doing the same sort of thing on the local college radio. And we would take calls. And it became this running bit where this is the time where Stern was getting popular and people would prank call and just say Baba Booey. And if you're not a Stern listener, you wouldn't get it. But if you were, like I was, it's hilarious. It was great. Just fun stuff, right? Harmless. Well, the sports version of that my buddies came up with was this fantastic running back from the 80s. And I understand that more than half of our audience never saw Chuck Muncie play. But Chuck Muncie was this freak of nature. Like, if you put him in today's game, he would be one of, if not the top running backs in the game. Just the size and the speed, playing on the Chargers team that, never quite got over the top. And kind of to cap it all off, he's wearing horn ring glasses. Like, who wears glasses in the NFL today? It's the NFL from the late 70s, early 80s at its finest. And so here I am, decades later, with open phone lines, guard let down. And the Bills, if you remember this game, Bills lose a game in Miami. It's week 3. It's about 150 degrees on the field. Slight exaggeration, but it felt like that. The Bills are dropping like flies. Isaiah McKenzie doesn't know to get down in time. Clock runs out, and the Bills lose one of those head scratchers. How did you lose this game? Moments. That was also the game that Tua got concussed, and they kept him in there, and somehow Miami wins. And so we take a call from Joe from Schenectady who says, hey, Josh Allen cannot do it all.
I just wanted to say one other thing. Look, that they need a big, strong, powerful runner. Somebody like a Chuck Muncie. I think.
There it is. There it is.
Darn it.
Gino got trolled. Yeah, Joe. I love it.
Then I have to explain this. Like, wait a second. Who is referring to Chuck Muncie? What year was that? 23? I don't even remember. Like somewhere recently, right? And why is that happening? And I have to explain the story. And somehow this kind of took on a life of its own.
And then another one, I'm kind of like in between Cincinnati and Indy. What about the Bengals too? Coming off that Super Bowl, they're just way overhyped. I'm so glad you guys are on.
What part of Indiana are you in, Charles?
Well, my friends call me Chuck. I'm from Muncie.
Didn't see that one coming. My partner at the time caught on it, and it's not me. I'm the slow one here, right? So that was Charles from Indiana listening on the Odyssey app. Oh, that's fantastic. See, that's another thing, too. If you butter us up, I've learned that, too. When somebody starts to butter you up, like, okay, what are you setting me up for? And, well, that's 2 that got by the goalie. This one I took great honor because for Steve Tasker to go out of his way, and the story was, about Aaron Rodgers at the time wanting the offense to run through him. How we got from Aaron Rodgers to Chuck Muncie here, I take this with great pride that Steve Tasker with a little tip of the cap to the sports bar.
The quarterback of that organization, as good as they are, MVP caliber, they have such cachet in the building. How they wield that power within the organization and how they voice their opinions within the organization has a great effect on whether that team can win. It helps them win or helps them lose. I'm not sure Aaron Rodgers is helping them win right now with what he's saying in the media. We saw it with Ben Roethlisberger. He would spout off a couple, and he was kind of quiet, but he would spout off once in a while. Marino, in my opinion, sometimes they're their own worst enemy. Dan Fouts was the same way. If they want to win, you're going to give me the ball, the quarterback, and I'm going to throw it. I am not handing it off to Chuck Muncie, no matter how good he is.
Happy birthday to Chuck Muncie, who we lost at the age of 60, which that's unfortunate. And, Chuck Muncie today would have been 73. 866-4326. Friend of the show, Dr. Neil. Neil, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. You're reminiscing of a bit that I've never heard. No, and seriously, I mean, I am. However, this is the 2-month anniversary of myself joining the sports bar, and I remember the first call, and I got the bell rung for Take of the Year, and I don't know if that was played or not in your little montage of memories, but it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thanks for taking my call. And listen, the sports bar, whether it's 1.0, 2.0, 4.0, it will always be the sports bar and a Rochester institution. There, I said it. Now, on to some football. I was going to call Friday and say the hardest thing I've ever had to say in regards to sports. It's sort of like a 12-step program. I was actually going to say that Brandon Beane did something good with the signing of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which it was. A little overpay, but you got a versatile safety who his best year was in you're welcome. In 2024, Vic Fangio's 3-4 defense, Gardner-Johnson played his best football. So I've understood signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to come play in the new Bills 3-4. And I was going to make like the first step in a 12-step program. Hi, my name is Dr. Neal, and I said something nice about Brandon Beane. But then today, Jalen Waddle gets traded to the Broncos for a first, a third, and a fourth, which is significant compensation. But I thought last year, Brandon Beane, it was going to take 2 firsts to get this guy off the Dolphins. So either you lied to the fan base, or much like the Bears trade with DJ Moore, you were going to get played, and other GMs were going to prey on your desperation. And I just that's the first point. I just think at this point we're stuck. It's like it's like a car that's stuck in mud. It's going forward but not going anywhere. And I see Chubb was a decent move. Alfred, the cornerback, decent move. But and the DJ Moore trade. But none of these moves, while they were a move to make, they weren't the move to make. Trading 2 firsts for Jalen Waddle, who is an elite wide receiver, would have been the move that myself, most of Bill's Mafia, I think you, would have looked at this move and said, yes, it's time to put our chips in the middle of the table. It's time to go all in. But it wouldn't have taken 2 firsts. The Broncos got him for a first, a third, and a fourth, and yes, 3 major compensation. But if you were serious about adding a game-changing number 1 wide receiver for Josh Allen to thrive with, and the compensation, as we now see, was a first, a third, and a fourth, and you told everybody that, we weren't going to give that first-round pick, Brandon Beane is getting played like I can't even say the word on the air, like a hooker in a cheap suit. I mean, this guy is reeking of desperation, making again, Brandon Beane bargain basement shopping, the bean washing, the pigskin gaslighting is not only in full effect, but it's being unchallenged. And in closing, let me say this: I understand there's a draft and holes can be filled. I understand all that. But at what point are we going? And I don't mean you specifically, Gene. You are one of the few in the Western New York media that speaks his mind and speaks the truth. But when are we going to start to realize that other teams are preying on his desperation and his mediocrity, and that he just gaslit us again? And the Broncos, who took one of the largest cap hits, I think $84 million, to get rid of Russell Wilson, who was supposedly in cap hell, they're finding a ways to make franchise-changing moves, and we're not. And I think this really needs to be discussed as to why this GM, way back when the disastrous McDermott press conference took place, why Brandon Beane should have been booted out the door along with Sean McDermott. Now, I don't know any – wasn't a Stern fan. I don't know, stupid trolling things. But all I'm going to say is this: it's a pleasure to be on this show. I will always call this show, and go Bills, but just needed to make my point. Thank you as always.
Thank you very much, Neil. And let me follow up with you can be upset about not getting Waddle last October, and maybe there was a divisional tax on there. We don't know. Right, that this is the price for you because I don't want Waddle going up there because we want to compete in a couple of years with you. So you got to factor that in. But I'll say this is you put yourself in this position because you ignored the wide receiver position in the draft. You just did. You tried to do this on the cheap. I don't know if you're like modeling yourself after Green Bay who did this, but Jeremy White in his show years ago onto this. But just take a draft like 2022. When you miss and there's other opportunities, like you traded up slightly to get Kyer Elam. Whoa. Now, the receivers that went in the first round that year that you could have traded up for, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jamison Williams. Okay, you can't get any of those. All right, how about not taking Kyer Elam and taking a George Pickens or an Alec Pierce. Those guys went in the second round. There are 3 positions in this league, ready, that you have to address in the draft, okay? And if you don't, you're going to overpay. Number 1, quarterback. Duh. Good luck finding a quarterback. And it worked for Seattle, I suppose, once a decade, but you're not going to find the quarterback, right, by free agency. Number 2, premier pass rusher. Boy, the Bills paid for Von Miller, and it was a great 10 games or whatever it was. Look at the Ravens almost pulled off, and they got cold feet there. You have to overpay. But now this is the wide receiver position that you've got to, you have to, or you're going to overpay. You will overpay. DJ Moore, gross overpayment. Second-round pick. When the reports first came out, and it was, 2 weeks ago now, like, oh, mid-round pick. Okay, a 5th-round pick. A salary. Oh, my gosh, they gave up a second. Well, they gave up a second because they knew the price tag on Jalen Waddle, and Denver paid it today. Thank you, Neil. We are late. We've got to get to our buddy, Mike McAllister. Mike McAllister, who covers the Syracuse Orange. What's the latest on the head coaching search for the replacement for Adrian Autry? That's coming up next. My name is Gene Battaglia on WGR Rochester.
You're in the
Sabres after dark. Buffalo looking to fortify their position at the top of the Atlantic Division standings. Vegas, the opponent tonight. Head coach Lindy Ruff of Buffalo says his team's focus is simple.
When we talk about putting the lineup right now, the only thing we talk about is winning the next game. Right now, all about locking up a spot. You can see how incredibly tight the East still is for myself and the staff. It's only about the next game and making sure we win the next game.
Coverage begins at 9 o'clock tonight here on WGR Rochester. The Amerks are home Friday and Sunday this coming week. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone next hour. A trade in the NFL today. The Dolphins sending wide receiver Jalen Waddle to Denver. Miami getting a first, a third. There's also a pick swap in the fourth. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. WGR Rochester.
Top shelf sports talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Gene Battaglia on the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
Of course, you've got that play-in action tonight. The one I'm paying attention to, the 2-11 seeds going at it, NC State and Texas. And, boy, wouldn't it be nice to get Syracuse back in this as soon as next year? A friend of the show, Mike McAllister, and there's been no shortage of news coming out of Syracuse. So we think we'd much rather be talking about the games themselves when it comes to men's basketball. But, Mike, thank you for your time today. Busy times at Syracuse. It's certainly a major changes between the chancellor and the athletic director. Are you surprised, Mike, at all the speed in which Syracuse chose for the successor, the guy who's taking over there for John Wildhack, Brian Blair, the new AD? Mike, appreciate your time today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm not surprised by the speed, mainly because generally when you have someone that's a higher up in an organization, they have succession plans in place. So even though this retirement was sort of breaking news to everyone publicly, I'm sure internally there were discussions well in advance of this. So they were kind of able to make a master list of names that they would consider or had some level of interest in that they wanted to evaluate further, perhaps interview, et cetera, well before this was Wildhack's retirement was announced publicly. And that allowed them to, sort of expedite the process by which they found his replacement. And then I think they were really good and intentional about being efficient with the interview process and the evaluation process. And I think it tells you that, they've got things kind of operating quite well and quite efficiently up there. The fact that they were able to find such a qualified candidate in such a short period of time that allows him to be in place while they look for a new basketball coach.
Yeah, Mike McAllister, publisher of Syracuse on 24/7, is our guest, and we got questions about the search here. But tell us a little bit, Brian Blair. So Blair, we know, raised a lot of money at Toledo, and I'm not knocking Toledo when I say this. That's the MAC. This is the major leagues. This is the Power Five, in comparison here. So, and it's a market in Syracuse that I can say this because Rochester were kind of the same, right? It's not like we're emerging. It's not like there's, all this funnel of money from the private sector that you're not getting, or maybe. Like, your thoughts on Blair and the opportunity, because for Syracuse to compete, whether that's football, men's basketball, whatever, you need more money here. So your thoughts on the hiring of Blair and how this might improve?
Yeah, I don't think there's any such thing as a perfect risk-free candidate, right? So even though he did an excellent job at fundraising and increasing donations and all of those things, branding deals, and he was at the forefront of the NIL. I believe they were the first MAC school to have an NIL collective. All of those things check a lot of boxes of what you need for an athletics director in modern college athletics. That said, it's a different animal raising money at Toledo than it is at Syracuse, as you pointed out, because the number you're trying to get to is far greater than what you need at a school like Toledo. So that certainly is a risk, is can he make that transition to fundraising at a power conference as opposed to at a school like Toledo? That's certainly a risk. That said, he was listed as the 40 under 40 in the Sports Business Journal considered a up and coming high riser, well respected within the business of college athletics. So I think they did a good job at finding someone who does check those boxes. But of course, when you're evaluating where the potential options are from a private sector, corporate donations, et cetera, there is the potential that in the somewhat near future with this Micron situation in Syracuse, that you could have a potential huge donor to some of this with Micron, supposedly coming in here to Central New York. That's something that I think Syracuse fans should pay attention to. But then, of course, you're looking at normal things like, the Myers Creek Brewery and big donors and hitting up alumni and things like that. But I think there's enough businesses in the area, and then the potential with that Micron deal and some other things that you should be able to do enough to be able to raise enough money so that Syracuse can be competitive.
Can things be patched up with Adam Weissman, in your opinion? Because I don't know to what degree, but you knew he was certainly a big donor as well.
So the thing with Weissman is interesting. Like, there was the article on Syracuse.com that came out kind of when a lot of that stuff was becoming public that outlined a majority of what he spent at Syracuse was donations related to purchasing tickets as opposed to NIL level donations. There were some, I know that he helped with Daisha Fair for the women's basketball team, and there were some other sports as well. But as far as basketball and football, men's basketball and football, the two big revenue drivers, there wasn't a ton in terms of the data that they put together. But I think Weissman's inclusion largely depends on how the new chancellor feels about that situation, and whether or not there's conflicts with the current big donors. And the other thing is he's free right now to contribute to NIL if he wants. He can contribute to a collective, he can donate money, etc. It's just not going to be with the pomp and circumstance that was being done previously with bringing celebrities to the Dome and all those types of things. So, I think that's something Syracuse certainly can explore and take into consideration when they're trying to figure out the best ways to generate revenue for their athletics programs.
Yeah, he wants to feel important. So that's really what it is, and maybe they can figure out a way, and they're going to need every avenue here. We're talking to Mike McAllister, publisher of Syracuse on 24/7. And, hey, we're all going to be watching Siena basketball, right, as they'll be taking on Duke and certainly South Florida, as Brian Hodgson is going to be in his team out in Buffalo. Where do you think where are we at right now? Those two candidates and everybody else, is one ahead of the other? How would you handicap right now the race to become the next head coach of Syracuse basketball, Mike?
Those are the two names that are discussed the most, that you hear the most. So I would guess those are probably the top two. The thing is, with Hodgson, Providence is also after him, and he's supposedly one of their top targets. If I had to look at it from a Syracuse perspective, I'd say Hodgson probably slightly above where GMAC is in the race at this point. But again, that Providence chatter is there. So how much of that is Hodgson legitimately considering all of his options and trying to evaluate where things are from an NIL standpoint at each place and where he thinks he's got the best chance to have the most resources in order to win, versus how much of this is leverage to try to get some sort of bidding war going on so that he can maximize the salary that he's bringing in. All of those things are probably part of the equation here. And so from a Syracuse perspective, at what point, if there is even a point where this happens, when you're talking to Brian Hodgson's camp and you get to a point where it's like, okay, we both want this to happen, let's figure out the money. And then, they're like, well, Providence is offering this. Okay, well, what if we do this? Okay, that's good. But Providence up there, they're going this. At what point do you say, you know what, it's not worth it to get into a bidding war here? Let's see where our other options are. Because even if McNamara is sort of, 1B in this situation, there's still a bunch of other really good head coaches that are out there. Someone that I really like that I don't think is being discussed for any of these jobs enough is Phil Martelli Jr. at VCU. I think he's a really good coach. He's won everywhere he's been, and he's done an excellent job at VCU this year. he's someone that I could see, potentially. Let's go into the scenario where Syracuse does end up getting Brian Hodgson. Would Providence navigate to a Phil Martelli Jr.? That's something I think would be a good fit potentially there. But I think he's a good fit for anybody. I think he's a really good head coach. There's other options too. There's the Joe Gallows at Merrimack and the Luke Murray's as an assistant at UConn, and a lot of good candidates. And I think the good thing for Syracuse is that right now you're essentially the top job available. So you should be attractive to a lot of the top candidates that are out there.
Mike McAllister, publisher of Syracuse on 24/7. Boeheim, I'll give him credit. It wasn't like he was weighing in on every Syracuse win or loss, far from it, but he's on national platforms. He still is out there. There is still kind of a shadow here. And that's where I'm trying to figure out, because I'm sure if he's got any sway, he'll want certainly McNamara and one of his guys there. To what degree do you think, if any, Jim Boeheim will have a voice here in this whole process?
Whenever you have a coach that is much of a legend at your school as what he was to Syracuse, I think you'd be a fool to not get some sort of opinion or thoughts from him. But he has also said routinely, you hire the best coach. And so if you're going to put a committee together, and assuming it's not going to include him on that committee, then you would think he would let the committee do their job and support whoever it ends up being. Certainly, he's going to think very highly of Jerry McNamara. He's going to speak very highly of him. But I think his words are not necessarily just about trying to convince people that he should get a job at Syracuse, but he's going to have power conference opportunities, whether it's this year or next year, at other schools as well. He made the comment that Georgia Tech and Boston College, and, there's some rumors about Pitt maybe being interested before they decided to bring Capel back, that he's trying to put out a good word for McNamara to get looks at other schools as well. So, I think the Boeheim shadow thing is still certainly there, but during this past year, with everything, even these past couple of years, with everything going on up there, he wasn't really someone that was at games and sort of looming over things and whatever else. So I think he's done a pretty good job at staying away from that. It's natural when one of his longtime assistants gets fired from the job that he held, and then one of his other longtime assistants is potentially up for that job, that national media people are going to reach out to try to get him on to interview him about what's going on there.
Mike, did you agree with Boeheim's take of where did it go wrong for Syracuse? And Boeheim just distilled it down to, hey, your top two players didn't perform at the level they're expected to. Was it that simple? The question here is where did it go wrong for the Orange, for the men's program this year?
I think whenever you have a situation that doesn't go as expected, it's probably too simplistic to blame just one thing. So to put it all on the fact that JJ and Donnie didn't play up to the level that I think the coaches and the fans were hoping that they would, that's probably not the entire picture. I think that's certainly part of it. NIL being what it is another part of it. There were reports that Syracuse was in the $7, $8, $9 million range or so this year. There are teams in the NCAA tournament that were around $10 million that have good seeds and had really good teams. So while that's certainly a part of it, is that extra $1 million really the difference between being a tournament team and being a team that was under 500? That's probably not the entire picture as well. So I think there's probably blame to go around. Your best players don't perform the way that you need them to. The NIL situation, even though you had a decent amount this year, that was triple, according to the reports that I saw, from where they were the year before, which means they were somewhere in the $2 to $3 million range for a power school, not this past season, but the season before. And that puts the coaching staff at a huge disadvantage because it's extremely difficult to put together a competitive roster with that kind of NIL. And then, of course, you point to ultimately as the head coach, you're responsible for things like your players not performing to the level that they need to, substitution patterns, things of that nature. So I think there's blame in multiple areas here with where this thing went wrong.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap up with you, I've got to ask one question about football because 2 years ago, this looked promising with Fran Brown. There was a lot of talent, and then okay, the quarterback goes down. That doesn't help. But after that, wow. Game at Notre Dame where they could have put up 100, you felt like. So year 3 of Fran Brown, what do we expect here? Is this just is this a lost year where until you hire the next head coach, can Brown turn this around? Your thoughts on the state of Syracuse football here in March of 2026, Mike?
Yeah, I think the roster last year was probably better than what it ended up being from a record standpoint. It's just when your quarterback goes down and everyone that you put in as a potential replacement performs to that low level, that sort of has a snowball effect on everything else. Because now your defense, whereas you look at last year, defense would go out in games even when they were down, and they're still out there playing because they know Kyle McCord can flip a switch at any point and just rattle off 4 or 5 touchdown drives in a row and get us right back into this thing. Think about the game against Miami. They went down 21-0. Defense kept playing, kept Miami at bay for a while, and then the offense got going, got them back into it, and they end up winning by multiple touchdowns. That level of confidence that the defense has in its quarterback and in its offense makes them continue to play hard even when things aren't going well. And when you have the opposite, where it feels like unless we shut the other team out, we're not going to win, as soon as it starts going south, you get the here we go again type of mentality, and that's why things kind of snowball out of control. So I think the way they were playing, you look at that Clemson game and just the enthusiasm and how hard they were playing, how physical they were playing. I get Clemson was down this year, but even still, that's a place they haven't won. I think that this team would have been a bowl team if Angeli didn't get hurt. And so I'm not out on Fran Brown or what this team can be. I think they did a good job in the portal. I think that they've improved the quarterback room so that if Angeli does get hurt again, you've got better options behind him. And I think they've done a really good job at replacing some of the players that they lost, not only through the transfer portal, but to the professional ranks as well.
Well, Mike, appreciate the work that you're doing. Of course, the women's team in the tournament. You've got lacrosse, both programs looking good. So for Syracuse alums, Syracuse fans in our area, tell everybody about Syracuse on 24/7 and where they can find more of your work, Mike.
Yeah, the website is CuseNation.com, so go to that website and bookmark it, add it to your favorites. We do have a subscription service that you can get our VIP articles. We post plenty of free content that you can read as well. You can find me on Twitter at McAllisterMike1. You can find our website's account on Twitter at Syracuse on 247. Syracuse on 247 is also the Facebook page, and then the same with Instagram for both myself and the website.
Well, thanks for answering questions, Mike, and here's to better days ahead for football men's basketball. Appreciate your time today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Mike McAllister, kind of filling us in. And it's funny, I've been waiting for more candidates to pop up, and maybe it's because the tournament. I think that's actually a good thing that you're not getting these kind of leaks, I suppose. Or maybe it's just they haven't started yet. I'm warming up to the idea of Hodgson. If he wins a few games in this tournament, Fredonia grad, UB, he's got those roots. The question is McNamara ready for this? Should you put any weight into nostalgia? I think you take the nostalgia completely out of it, honestly. Because if you start winning, you'll love whoever the coach is. So it's a tough one because you think back, oh, man, Hopkins, let him go away. Look, he won there out of Washington. Well, did he win? He had a few good years. I mean, I wouldn't say win. I mean, this is a program that, 2010, 1 seed, Syracuse, Final Fours. That's the bar. So who's going to be that coach? It's going to be fun. New day ahead here for Syracuse. We've got Tim Schneider's terrible take of the day. The bit that is sweeping the nation. That'll be coming up. We'll also talk to head coach Mike Leone as the Amherst off the Schneid. They get the win on Friday over Toronto, and now can this team stack wins ahead? They played well Saturday. I'll give them that, and sometimes it's how hockey goes. Mike Leone coming up bottom of next hour. You can write to us right now. Our handle, WGR Rochester. We'll read some of your tweets on that. You can leave a comment in the YouTube section. I'm not guaranteed just that you do. I'm not going to guarantee that, at least one I'm not going to read there. Sorry. But you can tune in, by the way. YouTube, Twitch. We've got the studio lit up in green today. Thank you to the LED lights years ago that Derek the Pizza Dude bought us. A toy we get to use once or twice a year. My name is Gene Battaglia. This is WGR Rochester.
So With Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Yeah, come 2 days from now, we are just going to be talking a lot of basketball as the tournament will be underway. And hopefully, you get some time to take in the tournament, get your brackets. Tomorrow, one last check-in with PJ Glasser before the tournament. PJ, the expert, I'm actually in his pool, and I always think I do well. I'm one who I can't hedge. I cannot do it. Hedgers are losers, as we say here in the sports bar. Because if you hedge, you're going to lose on one thing. So I go with one bracket. And it's funny, like with the one bracket, I could do very well. Maybe win the pool. I'm in the PJ pool. It's comical. Maybe it's just more weighted toward the first round. So that'll be tomorrow on the show. Coming up next hour, Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans. Of course, it is St. Patrick's Day. Not wearing green today. Tim Schneider, it is time for Timmy's terrible take of the day.
I'm going to blame the snow on that. It got me out of the season. But the Italy World Baseball Classic story was fun, interesting, unique, considering most of them are from New Jersey. But that would have been a fun opportunity, a rematch, U.S.-Italy World Baseball Classic Championship. Not only is Venezuela beating Italy better for the sport, I'll go one step further and say Venezuela beating Team USA today will be better for the sport of baseball and the moving forward of the game.
100%. 100%. Because for us here, oh, come on. How did this happen? Mark DeRosa, and the villain we already know who it's going to be. It's going to be DeRosa. If the United States doesn't win tonight, that's because DeRosa left pitcher in too long, didn't go to the bullpen. Why are you playing so-and-so? Like, I read everybody like, why didn't you put Gunnar Henderson in sooner? Like, those are all fair questions, but it doesn't matter. You're here, even though, like, you got a little kind of nervous and jerky there. And if it's not for Italy doing what they did against Mexico, the United States is out, ironically. So tonight should be a lot of fun in Miami. Good take, Tim. I appreciate that. I will take it a step further. They need to figure out a way to move this. As I said yesterday, move it to the All-Star break. All-Star break, All-Star game is washed, especially if you get the Rob Manfred world where you're going to have this massive realignment. Massive. No more really American and national as we knew it. Well, at that point, what are we doing? Who cares about East versus West? It should be a world tournament. And maybe that is, behind the curtain here. But whereas in Miami, this is big. All right, well, if you put that in warm weather in the Bronx, yeah, in baseball markets, put it at Fenway. Put it at, people will eat this up.
I like that idea, but how do you do that with the teams that are mostly comprised of not major leaguers? Do you stop all of baseball?
Yeah, you gotta. There's no perfect solution, but if it is so big and players want to be a part of it, like the NHL, it took years to say, hey, this is actually what needs to happen, and NHL players kind of were pushing for it. Fans were pushing for it. That was fantastic, and hopefully we get that again. We got more takes coming up. The show is better with your participation. Our number is 866-4326, the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Give us a ring there, or you can hit us up. We'll read some of your tweets coming up as well. Our handle, WGR Rochester. Here, my name is Gene Battaglia with Tim Schneider on WGR Rochester.
An AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Spring, right around the corner. Trust me. You're excited for warmer weather, of course. But as temperatures rise, make sure that your energy bills don't. Keeping those cooling costs low with Window Nation's high-quality, energy-efficient products. Simply request a consultation where their experts will visit your home, spot problem areas, and make recommendations. Your customized windows can be installed in a day. Once completed, your home will be shielded from outside hot air while you remain cool and comfortable inside throughout the spring and summer. With Window Nation, well, your house won't just look great, but you'll also have peace of mind. All Window Nation's products are backed by a lifetime warranty. There's no better time to upgrade your home with Window Nation. In March, the more you buy, the more savings you could enjoy, up to 50% off all window styles. And be sure to ask about Window Nation's generous financing options, including $0 down and payments as little as $199 a month. Visit windownation.com for your free consultation today. That's windownation.com.
Spring is here.
WDEV HD2 Rochester and everywhere you go at WGR Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester. Sports Update.
Sabres begin the West Coast trip tonight. First stop, Las Vegas, taking on Jack Eichel and the Golden Knights. Marty Baron today on One Sabres Live says there's no surprise who's in that tonight.
Well, we know Luukkonen's going to go for the Sabres unless something happened.
He's 3-0 against the Knights. So.
Yeah, and I think he's going to bounce back. But I think Luukkonen's going to be fine. Vegas has got some good offense. You talked about it. Their forwards, they can create, but I think he'll be good.
Coverage begins at 9 o'clock here tonight on WGR Rochester. The Amerks are home Friday and Sunday this week. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone coming up later this hour. Trading the NFL today, where the Dolphins trade wide receiver Jalen Waddle to Denver. Miami getting in a first and third. There's also a pick swap in the fourth. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master show. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much hotter than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres, Bills, Americans, Red Wings, and Nighthawks. Sports bar for Rochester Sports Talk.
Yeah, that is tight. And that is our new theme song here to start off hour number 2. You found us here at the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with you, our fine producer Tim Schneider. And thanks to Dan DeLorean for kind of helping us splice that all together here today. But the credit goes to Dan from Fairport, our winner of the new theme song contest here. And with that, Dan, you will forever be in Sports Bar lore. You win nothing other than our admiration, if that's fair. 866-4326 is our phone number. Yeah, as the song says, pull up a stool, join us, Sports Bar. You get the motif. It is kind of fun to kind of check out. I love Greg writing in, Chuck Muncie. Yeah, we reset that in the first hour today. Happy birthday to the man upstairs, Chuck Muncie, who Sports Bar legend. Would have been 73 today. Brian writing in, I was listening to the show yesterday, and I heard Gene say the Americans are playing for Italy was a cash grab. If I didn't make the U.S. team and could play for another country instead of a meaningless spring games, I'm in. That's also part of this, too. You're in, but I just wanted to kind of point that out. It's like, wait a second, these guys are all from around, and I haven't really dove into the Venezuela roster tonight, but I would think that would be a little more on the up and up tonight. Yeah, World Baseball Classic, final, and for the first time tonight, Venezuela is in the final. Miami, 8 o'clock tonight. The site, the time, coverage on Fox. The U.S. looking for their first win since 2017, only their second overall. Now, this is only the 6th tournament. Japan has won 3 times. The U.S. once. Puerto Rico once. And for the U.S., where they nearly had an oopsie, where they didn't make it to the knockout round, maybe they'll find their way. But, hey, we love Game 7s in the Stanley Cup Final. We love Game 7s in the NBA playoffs. Tonight's a Game 7. There's like one game, and to me that highlights your sports viewing. If there is one thing Dayton, Ohio is known for, is we got that going on tonight. It's hosting the playing games, too. I've been to that arena, and I hope they never mess with it. It's fun. It's like, okay, you hear how Indiana is the cradle of basketball, but Dayton, Ohio, they do it right there. Doubleheader tonight beginning at 6:40, UMBC and Howard. Kind of a Francesa game, if you ask me. Not to those schools, certainly, and not if you're a basketball junkie. But
who cares?
Right. But after that, by the way, the winner of that game goes to Buffalo to face Michigan. Congratulations, you're going to Buffalo! Yay!
I've been to Dayton one time as well. It was to watch, again, a first 4 game. Bonnies beat UCLA in probably one of the coolest games I've ever been to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like that.
Awesome venue, too.
Yeah, that venue, it's like, I don't know when it opened, but it's not a new arena. It's way past its expiration, but it works. It works. And if you're a fan, you don't need all the bells and whistles. Who cares about that? Just give me a seat that's up close. Like there's some venues, obviously Duke gets all the adulation for, their place, Cameron Indoor. I think Dayton is underrated in that regard.
1969 was the opening date of UD Arena.
Wow, I would have thought it would have been older.
And funny that you say best seats in the house, because I had the best seats in the house. They were limited view because I had no leg room. These CBS Stat Keepers computers were at my legs, but it was literally center court behind the announce team. I had to pay like $30 instead of $85 though.
So, and the thing at Dayton, I don't know if they still call it this, like the area, the ghetto. At least that's what they called it. Hey, did you go to the ghetto? Did you go to the ghetto? I'm like, what are you talking about? Go to the ghetto. No, I guess that's where all the bars are at Dayton. I kind of missed out on that. Tonight, 2 11 seeds. As we mentioned, Texas, PJ Glasser loving those Longhorns going against NC State. The winner getting a 6 seed in BYU coming up on Thursday. We talked Syracuse Athletics last hour. That was fun. Mike McAllister, he's really, really good with his info. Talking about where do we kind of go from here. And, Brian Blair, all right, you raise this money at Toledo. Fantastic. This ain't Toledo. This is the ACC. How is this all going to translate? And I think Mike had the take. It's like there's no perfect candidate that's going to wave a magic wand. So I guess can you grow year over year in that regard? We didn't get to this, though, and this is terrible. Maybe you remember this guy, former Syracuse quarterback Rex Culpepper. Rex Culpepper was killed in a dirt bike accident on Saturday. Played for the Orange from 2016 to 2020, appearing in 16 games, threw for over 1,500 yards, 11 TDs, 11 interceptions, while at SU. He also beat testicular cancer in 2018. I remember that story, too. So somebody that, all right, we're going to try him at tight end, and his dad played in the NFL. Not related to Dante Culpepper. This is a different family.
Brad Culpepper.
Right, that's it. Yeah. Rex Culpepper was only 28. Dirt bike accident. That's horrible. And I think he was engaged, too, so you hate to see something like that, obviously. Former New York Jets defensive end Mark Gastineau was suing ESPN and producers $25 million for the way he felt he was unfairly portrayed in the 30 for 30 doc. This was about the New York Sack Exchange, and where it's 30 for 30. It's fun. It's like fast food. It's got a simple formula. Like, hey, this is the story you kind of remember. If you're a fan of the team, you're gonna love this. Here's a trip down memory lane. We're gonna talk to all the key players kind of involved. And you see how they look today, and we're going to look back, and here's some cool footage and some facts that you may not know. It's a winning formula. And how they didn't come up with this before the year, I don't know, when they start this, 2010 or whatever Bill Simmons put this out, I don't know. But they will continue to do stories like this as long as we continue to kind of march on in time. Sports, stories like this in a long form, they work, right? But this one was different. This one was different because you think back New York Sack Exchange, and for a fan base like the Jets, what have you had to cheer about? Rex Ryan? Okay. But in 82, that was a team, Shea Stadium, and the Jets get to the AFC Championship game. They were never getting any closer. But it was fun to look back, right? Well, how did it all turn out? And for Mark Gastineau, can't say this with 100% certainty, right? But the way it comes off is, okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's what CTE looks like in its advanced stages. And Gastineau agreed to do this, and Gastineau didn't like the way it came out. Well, the ruling on this, a judge completely shut it down, tossed the lawsuit out. Gastineau consented, the judge writing this down, Gastineau consented in writing to the use of his name and likeness in the film and related promotional materials. And if you remember the promotional materials, this came out like as a story. It's like, whoa, okay. Because we remember the story. You didn't have to grow up in the 80s not to know the story of Michael Strahan and Brett Favre and how that all went down. And terrible, right? I'm not a fan of that at all. Earned the record. And there was Michael Strahan earning the single-season sack record when Brett Favre decided, oh, no, I'm just going to kind of lay down. And all the Giant fans, and that was a little controversial at the time. Well, you forget, like, the guy's record that got broken was Mark Gastineau. That was his identity. I hold the season sack record in NFL history. And to see Gastineau go up and confront Favre at the memorabilia show. Now, sidebar, Favre, as we kind of come to know, I don't think he's a good guy. That's just my opinion. So, but to see Favre get put on the spot like that with Gastineau confronting him, and there's the camera, very, very uncomfortable. And I could understand, like, looking back at it, that's Gastineau maybe losing his cool. He certainly had every right to say, hey, I haven't seen this guy in 30 years or whatever it is. I don't appreciate how my record was broken. Every right to say that, but they're very, very uncomfortable. And when you're in television or you're in this media, you just don't want okay. You don't want average. You want something like you haven't seen before, you haven't heard before. And that was, okay, here's a former great confronting another former great. Here's somebody, Mark Gastineau, who's not in the Hall of Fame, by the way, confronting a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's also part of this, too, is that Mark Gastineau's place in NFL history, how much more money could he have earned had he actually gotten into the Hall of Fame? And how much more, when you go to these memorabilia shows, do you get to charge when you get to write HOF on the helmet or whatever it is? So I'm not surprised, like the judge said, you sign this. Out you go. And Gastineau's still not in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he ever will be. And it's very uncomfortable that you actually kind of saw this go down the way it did. So the story in the NFL today, if you're just tuning in, and we took a call from Neil last hour, just, kind of pinning this on Brandon Beane. I'm not going to pin it on Brandon Beane because the Broncos get Jalen Waddle for a first and a third and a fourth-round pick swap, where the pick swap actually goes in the opposite direction. I'm fine with this. I'm fine because I do believe, and I'm not waving Brandon Beane, Buffalo Bills pom-poms, there should be a divisional tax. Like, okay, it's still conference. We're going to send you out there. At the time, the Dolphins wanted more than a first, and Beane wasn't willing to go there. Would that have made the Buffalo Bills a better team this year? Well, the Bills still have the first-round pick, and it gives them options, I suppose. But I don't know if getting Jalen Waddle in 2025 at the trade deadline propels the Buffalo Bills to where they need to go. Maybe, but once you lost that divisional game to the Dolphins, it was catch-up from that point. The Patriots, to their credit, didn't do you any favors. The Patriots had to do what they did, and they held serve, and you never got a home game in the postseason. So that's where I'm going with this, is that by Miami doing this today, they're a garbage team. You can't say tanking because they just signed a quarterback, and I feel bad for Malik Willis. Like, Malik Willis, like, Tennessee didn't know what to do with him. Like, he should not have played his first season. Everybody said that, too. And they threw him in there. It didn't look good. Green Bay saw something. Now, you do this over, the course of 17 games. It may look completely different for Malik Willis, but we'll find out. And who's he throwing the ball to? It's going to be a lot of kids. And Miami's starting over. Miami's not going to win games this year. The Jets won't win games this year. There is absolutely no excuse as I sit here on St. Patrick's Day telling you that the Buffalo Bills should be 4-0 against those teams. Sure, things could happen later in free agency and the draft. No, I'm saying this right now. Like, by saying that, can the Buffalo Bills go 5-1 and split with New England? Like, the Bills should be back on top in the AFC East. Should. New England's going to be good, but the point is, whoever is that team in the AFC East, Denver had the home field in the AFC Championship game. That division's going to be better. The Chargers will take a step forward. The Chiefs will be back. To what degree, I don't know. Also today, Hollywood Brown leaving Kansas City. He signs with the Eagles. Now, what does that mean in terms of A.J. Brown? I think we kind of put a pin right now in the A.J. Brown kind of sweepstakes. Maybe that happens on draft night. Maybe that happens over the summer. Maybe we got to wait until the trade deadline coming up in the fall. But A.J. Brown remains in Philadelphia. Hollywood Brown going now to Philadelphia. 1 year, $10 million. So I'm taking the positive spin on Waddle getting moved today. That just means Miami, there's no hope this year. They're doing what they can. What they should really do is, all right, figure out who might that quarterback be this year in the draft or next year in the draft. Just because you sign Malik Willis, no, it should not deter you from drafting a quarterback. That's the ultimate goal. You need to find that next guy. Amherst, still fighting. 2 games this week. Syracuse on Friday, Hartford on Sunday. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone coming up next. My name is Gene Battaglia here, the Sports Bar in WGR Rochester.
Rochester Sports Update.
Sabres after dark. Buffalo looking to fortify their position at the top of the Atlantic Division standings. Vegas, the opponent tonight. Head coach Lindy Ruff says the focus is simple.
When we talk about putting the lineup right now, the only thing we talk about is winning the next game. Right now, all about locking up a spot. You can see how incredibly tight the East still is for myself and the staff. It's only about the next game and making sure we win the next game.
Coverage begins at 9 p.m. tonight here on WGR Rochester. The Amerks are home Friday and Sunday this week. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone next here in the Sports Bar. Trade today in the NFL. Jalen Waddle, the wide receiver, on the move. The Miami Dolphins sending him to Denver. Miami getting a first, a third. There's also a pick swap in the fourth. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR. Rochester.
Good to have the Amerks home a couple of games here. Good to get a little rest for the guys, too. And I would assume Mike Leone, as he does on Tuesdays, good to give us some time here. Coach, thank you for the time. And we go back to Friday where, all right, it gets a little dicey at the end of regulation. How good was it just to see finally your guys to get rewarded with the win on Friday? Coach, how are you today?
Doing good. Yeah, it was a big win. I like the way our team played. It was unfortunate the last couple of minutes. I didn't think we played those situations poorly. The 5-on-6, they made a play. We didn't get a block, a tip, and then they come back and make another really good play. And then it was good to see us, get the win in overtime. I thought we deserved just how we played in the game. So it was good. A lot of good individual efforts, and Rats has been really good for us, and gave us a chance to win. So for a young kid, he's playing really good hockey for us right now.
Yeah, and the team goes up to Toronto on Saturday, and I thought actually your team played pretty well, and that's just kind of hockey. I guess my question here, Mike, is like when you're going through a streak like this, are you more the coach that will give the guys a pat on the back and hey, let's keep going, you're doing all the right stuff, or is it more of a kick in the butt? How do you manage through a stretch like this?
Well, I just think if you're worried about the scoreboard and you just determine how you approach the groups on wins and losses, I've never been that way. I think if the group plays poorly and you don't win, I think you have to come down on the team. But I don't think we've been on the wrong side of a lot of games, but I don't think it's because we didn't compete or we didn't work hard. I think if you have to worry about the process of your team and what that looks like and be successful. And at the end of the night, if our guys did the things that we're asking them to do for our team to be successful, I have no issue with how we played. I think if you just focus on results and you're just you hang your hat on every game on a win or loss, then you're not going to do your job, and your team is not. It's going to reflect that. If I go in on every single loss and start yelling at the team because we lost the game, but they actually played really good, then that I'm not doing my job, and that's not beneficial. I've always been it's about your process of your team and what it makes us to look successful. And with our group, it's different now, and that's the reality of the situation. And are we going to have the puck as much? Probably not. Are we going to drive possession on other teams? Probably not. But what we can do is control our effort and our attitude and how hard we compete in games, and I have no issue with that. Now, are there certain things that we can't give up shorthanded goals when we go to Laval and lose 4-2? Yes, those things have to be corrected, and those things could be coached. But if you're a coach that just focuses on every result, you're probably, from my understanding, and that you're probably not going to get the most out of your group.
Amerks are home Friday against Syracuse. Hartford on Bills Day on Sunday. Our guest is head coach Mike Leone as you get some rest this week. One player that we're getting to know here, Caleb Lawrence, and he's the guy that comes over from the Kings organization on loan, and didn't know anything about him, and there he was dropping the gloves on back-to-back nights. Mike, is this the type of guy you knew you were getting here in this loan?
I didn't really know much about him. I just knew he's a big centerman. He's been good on faceoffs. He's a really young player in the league. I mean, he hasn't played, 50 games in the American League at this point of the season. What, you're playing against in the lineups you're playing against, any player right now, it's going to be tough to play in the league. And he's done a really good job for us. He's physical. He has pretty good skill for a big man, and he's done a really good job for us in a short amount of time.
Yeah, Mike, you're bringing up like what you're doing as a coach, and this is hey, we want to win games here, but I don't know how you would rate the kind of two. Like, ultimately, you got to promote guys and help Buffalo win games. And seeing Noah Ostlund doing what he's doing up there, he's not coming back here. Zach Metza, I was like, okay, we'll get Zach. I don't know if we're getting Zach Metza here. So what kind of sense of satisfaction knowing that, hey, like the Amerks have really given kind of a spark here, helping out the parent club?
Yeah, I think it's all a part of it. I mean, when's the last time that they've had a chance to make the playoffs realistically? We're talking 14 years. So our guys that have gone up, and I think you're missing a huge piece to that puzzle up there. It's Josh Dunn. He's another one. Dunner's played, he's maybe not in the lineup now, but what he's meant to that group, he was a part of the 10-game winning streak. Noah Ostlund's playing top 6 in the NHL right now and contributing every single night, and that's playing in the lineup, which is incredible for the team. And I'm really happy for those guys. Like, you never know how the season's going to go. It's been, we haven't had those, not to mention the players that they are, but you lose your 2 captains out of the room for a whole year. Those are huge pieces to not just the product on the ice, but what happens behind the scenes and how to manage your young kids or who's the voice in the room. There's a lot of things that go into, but at the end of the day, I'm really happy for those kids, and we're still fighting and competing to get in the playoffs, and that's all you could ask for, and then you lose, we were able to, the organization, to move Rosie in a trade, which obviously he was a big part of the trade, a guy that was going to score 40-plus goals in the league. He was another guy that contributed to the team, and, Helly's went up and played games and did really well during the winning streak. So, yeah, that's why you do it. And those guys have not just been a part of it. I think they've been a crucial part of the team's success of, not just the players that they are, but the people you're getting in your locker room. And a guy like Dunner, who doesn't have to play every game and shows up to the rink and his attitude doesn't put a price tag on those guys. And we miss them here, but I'm excited and happy for them and the organization.
Yeah. Nice to see that Zach Jones doing what he's doing. First Amerks defenseman, coach, in 7 years to hit 50 points. That's quite a number there. What kind of a presence, with everything kind of changing here on your roster here, has Zach Jones been for your team?
No, he's been really important. Like, he provides offense. He's done a really good job contributing on the back end. I think we're asking more of him, and then we're going to need more of him away from the puck when he doesn't have the puck. How you're defending, because our team is not going to have the puck as much. That's reality, like I said. You look at some of the lineups we're facing. So I think there's still area of his game, points-wise, he could still improve. I think it's when you don't have the puck, how you impacting the game. Are you boxing out? Are your gaps good and those things? But overall, he's been a really important player for us, especially with a lot of the guys that we have. He's been amazing. And he's done a really good job in the power play. So we're going to need him to continue to play well, but also his level the last 12 games we have of the season.
So schedule this week, Friday night, hopefully a nice crowd there as Syracuse going to be the opponent. You just faced this team earlier this month on a Sunday where it was a close one that didn't go your way. Are there any secrets between your two teams at this point in the season? Anything that you haven't discovered yet about a team like Syracuse?
No. You know what you're going to get every night. They made a couple of trades. Their team's as good as it's probably ever been. They're big. They're heavy. They make it really hard to get to their front of the net. They lead their top 5 every year in goals against. They defend. They got good goaltending. They're a really good hockey team. So, in any game that we play, if you look at our schedule, the teams that we're going to face the next 12 games. I think we have one of the hardest schedules in the American Hockey League. We still got Providence twice. Charlotte comes. So we got to make sure no matter who we're playing, we're ready to go. But they're a really good team, and they have been.
Yeah, and then you get Hartford coming in, the Bills Day. Look, Hartford, the Rangers' whole organization, this hasn't been a good year for them. Hartford's dropped the last 3. Right now, they have the fewest points in the conference, Coach. So what do we know that I haven't said there about the Wolfpack coming in, Coach?
Yeah, no, you could, at this point of the year, I think records go out the window. They just played Providence and outplayed them. They ended up losing the game. But I just think any team in the division, any team in the league right now, the games are different. Records go out the window, and especially with our group right now, if we're looking at other teams' record and thinking we have I don't know. The odds are in our favor tonight. We're not going to win too many hockey games. So our team just has to focus on us and not be concerned at where teams are at or what they're doing. It's just focus on us. And they got a lot of really good players. They made a couple of additions. Fix Wolanski, who played in Cleveland, is really on fire right now. They're probably struggling with goaltending. If they had goaltending, they'd probably be in a better spot. But they've played good lately. We just got to make sure we're ready to go on Friday and be ready to go on Sunday.
Have you seen the sweaters you'll be wearing on Sunday? It's one of the biggest promotions of the year, the Bills Day event, Coach.
I have not.
Yeah, it's good. Well, wearing kind of the Buffalo Bills red, white, and blue there. Do like the Sunday afternoons, too. Certainly a big boost for the team. Mike, appreciate the time as always. Good luck this week. One last thing. Let the rest this week, how beneficial is that at this time of year that you aren't getting a Wednesday night game and just the 2 coming up spread out on Friday and Sunday?
Yeah, I think it gives you, for me, more importantly, the practice time is really important because after this week, coming March, if you look at, or April, when you look at our schedule, we don't have a lot of practice time. So I think it's really important the practice that we get to have with our group. So hopefully it'll pay dividends coming into the weekend.
Mike, thanks for the time, and let's do this again next week. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
Mike Leone, head coach of the Rochester Americans, who broke that 10-game winless streak on Friday night. And then they played well on Saturday against Toronto. And I don't know, it would be surprising, in my opinion, if it was anything but Amherst and Toronto in a 4-5 matchup. And, he can't talk about this. Players can't talk about this. You and I can talk about this, though. Can the Amherst get by that? And then would you sign up for Laval? I would sign up for that right now. Honestly, the Amherst are a better team than Belleville, and they're a better team than Utica. And where Mike was being diplomatic about Hartford, that's a team that, all right, you have to win. You must win on Sunday, them coming in here. And for Hartford, that's a team that, my gosh, that's on the back end of a brutal trip where tonight they're playing the first of 2 in Charlotte, and then they got to go play in Toronto at 4 o'clock on Saturday, and then cross the border and come down here and play 3 o'clock on Sunday. That is just laid out for a 5-1 Amherst win, in my opinion. That is a team you must take advantage of on Sunday. And by the way, I've seen the jerseys here. Yeah, they're they're sharp. Like that it has the ROC. Not if I don't know why they. Well, I do know why. Like you can't use the Bills logo because the NFL won't just kind of allow that as a one-off, even though the owner of the Rochester Americans is the same owner as the Buffalo Bills. You would think, but they get it close, and well, that'll be a lot of fun for fans coming up on Sunday. Last call coming up next in the sports bar, which means it's your time to weigh in. We do have an NFL scheduling morsel. We'll get to that. We'll get to your calls as well. Our phone number, 866-4326, here on WGR Rochester.
Rochester's home for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Like I'm calling Sunday should be a must-win for the Amerks against Hartford. I will respectfully disagree with head coach Mike Leone because I appreciate his time. But to say Hartford outplayed Providence? Providence won 7-0. What was the shots on goal there, Tim? It was like
36-13.
Yeah, I don't need to see the film on that one.
Respecting opponents, but that's a little bit too much.
That's respecting the opponent for sure. Yeah, Hartford they're terrible. And it's hockey. Anybody can win any day, blah, blah, blah. Well, we'll be having the game Friday against Syracuse. Hartford on Sunday.
Take down the rival, build some momentum, win Sunday, and then get this ship back on track.
Yeah, appreciate the time for Mike Leone. Always gives us on a Tuesday. Last call is for you at 866-4326. Here, area code 585. 585 proud. Tonight, Sabres in Vegas. According to Paul Hamilton, no Alex Tuck tonight. He's under the weather. So no Alex Tuck, which means Tyson Kozak goes in, and this goes back to our conversation with Jody Gage, what do the Sabres need? It's not the home run swing, let's go trade for the big star. No, you need depth guys. For anybody that's worried about, Shen and Stanley, no, they're depth guys. Ultimately, maybe you'll use them. Stanley's you're certainly going to use against Tampa, and this is nice that you get a forward that can kind of step in as the Sabres looking to get healthier tonight. Vegas, hey, you just beat this team earlier this month. Interesting roadie where you go from Vegas and eventually you'll head out to California where you'll get the Kings and the Ducks. I don't know what to make of the Ducks, even though they're in first place. It seems like the West, just like many years, isn't very good beyond a few teams out there. Vegas is one of those teams, though, certainly that could represent, and we'll have the call tonight from the great Dan Dunleavy and Rob Ray coming up 10 o'clock, 9 p.m. for the pregame coverage. 9 p.m. for the pregame coverage.
9 times.
Yeah, I was seeing if I could get you to say it 9 times before I hit the 9 times.
9 times.
There we go.
They have a real chance to be atop the Eastern Conference by the time this trip is over.
Well, that's where I think we just kind of manage the expectations. As long as I'm fine with just the Atlantic Division. I don't need them to be, challenging for any President's Cup trophy or anything like that. I would just like to avoid, Tampa here. And there's going to be a price to pay if you win the Atlantic because I took in, of all things, because, on Sunday, Ottawa and San Jose, I told our fine producer, Dan DeLorean, the Sens, hey, they just, and San Jose is not a bad team. San Jose should be a playoff team. And they're at the end of a long road trip, so blah, blah. That might have been it at all. But Ottawa, if they get in, is going to be dangerous. If the Sabres end up winning that division, the wildcard team is always a little frisky because that's not the team falling out. That's the team rising up to, and then you would assume will be on a little bit of a hot streak. We do have NFL scheduling news today, and this is a first in NFL history that the league will open up on a Wednesday night. So NBC will kind of move Thursday Night Football to Wednesday Night Football. Now, the reason for this is that this is the year the Rams are going to Australia. That game going to be taking place in Melbourne, and the 49ers going over there as well. So where that game would be, I'm going to screw all this up, it would start on Wednesday the 10th in Aussie time. It'd actually be prime time for us on Thursday Night Football. So the NFL's in a weird spot here because right now we're like, yeah, give me more football. Yeah, absolutely. More. How do you like it? More. We're getting to a point where we're like, all right, yeah, I think I'm good. None of us were asking for the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving weekend. But it's an opportunity for the NFL to sell another game, another package to insert blank here. Netflix, YouTube. And you want that cap to go up if you're a Bills fan, right? 2 thumbs up. So kind of a double-edged sword here. I'm okay with the Wednesday night opener for this reason. This is the latest under the current structure that the NFL season can actually open up. Labor Day is coming super-duper late this year, like September 7th. That is the latest Labor Day can come. So put in comparison, the Section 5 season and college football will be underway there on Labor Day weekend. Well, the NFL will kind of mosey in here on that following Wednesday. Now, the result at the back end of this, it's pretty wild. It's fantastic. The Super Bowl will be on Valentine's Day. I know that's not good if you're in the Valentine's Day, but the next day you will hopefully have off. Most people, some people will certainly be working, but President's Day, it'll be the first time we have a 3-day weekend surrounding the Super Bowl. That's the benefit of having a later start to the season. So Seattle against opponent to be determined on Wednesday night, September 10th, and then the Rams game against the 49ers, that will be coming up on the 11th. 866-4326 is our number. And like the 2026 opponent for the Seahawks, no, the Bills aren't going out to Seattle, but could Seattle open up against Dallas? No, they cannot. Dallas is going to Brazil. Chiefs, Chargers, Patriots. I don't think I want to see a Super Bowl rematch. I think the Bears would be a good opener. I think the Bears, major market, team on the upswing, everybody excited about Bears football. They're going to take the next step. That to me would seem like a good opponent there. And then maybe you run the risk of Mahomes not being ready week 1 for that game if you decide to put the Chiefs out there on the opening Wednesday night, September the 10th. Even if it's a matter of like 3-4 days, I'm sure the NFL may just kind of do the Chiefs a favor and like, you know what, we're going to make sure you start off well this year. We're putting you 1 o'clock on Sunday at home against the Raiders or something silly like that. They're going to, you watch. I guarantee it. They're going to serve up the Chiefs a win there week 1. If you missed any of today's show, and we're going to get the new music here. This might be the last time, as Dan DeLorean doing a fine job. Thanks again to Dan and Fairport for providing us the new theme song. If you missed any of today's show, it is available for you where you get all your fine audio on many platforms, including the Odyssey app, where you can download the app today if you haven't done so already and listen to this fine radio station and everything that Dan DeLorean chopping up and putting into bite-sized form for you. Tomorrow on the show, we will talk to our betting expert, PJ Glasser, about the brackets. We'll also talk some Nighthawk lacrosse with the new coach, interim coach, Randy Mearns, who certainly has Nighthawk blood in him. Thanks to Tim Schneider, our fine producer, and we have Sabres hockey for you coming up tonight, 9 p.m. for the pregame show team out in Vegas. My name is Gene Battaglia. Show up in the Bulldog up next here on WGR Rochester.